Did you spot the difference? The first one actually required less discipline, and you'll learn why in this video. I should know because it's how I grew my physique from this to this. It's also how I went from being too lazy to do anything to being able to complete any task I want with ease. The secret to discipline is leverage. Leverage means to use something to maximum advantage. And as I share you this story, try and guess which one failed to use leverage. There were once two young princes, and each was charged with the task of building their own pyramid. So the first brother decided to get to work straight away, and he decided to manually lift every single stone. But the second brother took a different approach. He spent the first couple of years locked away in his room designing a machine so that he could use it to lift the rocks for him. And then once the machine was complete, he got straight to work, and the second brother finished in a few years, and he was able to enjoy the reward of half of the entire kingdom for the rest of his life. But the first brother did not fare so well because he spent his entire life manually building the pyramid. So basically the second brother used leverage and the first brother did not. So discipline is all about leverage. In real life, leverage is broken up into 5 categories. This side makes life easier, and this side makes life more difficult. So what the micro is, it's your daily habits. So let's say you stay up late consistently. Well, then the next day you're gonna wake up and it's gonna make your life way more difficult. So it's gonna require a lot more discipline the next day. That's exactly what the introduction clip was all about. It was showing that if you go to bed late and you don't get enough sleep, well, then you're gonna need a lot more discipline to do things in life. So that's why sleep schedule is a very important micro habit. And there's a lot of other negative micro habits that affect your discipline. For example, drinking alcohol, that hangover the next day makes you not want to do anything. Another example could be, let's say you're addicted to being entertained by high dopamine videos like TikTok or even YouTube videos like this one. That's gonna make life a lot more boring. So then it's gonna take a lot more discipline to do things in life. And so the other section is all about the macro. This is all about your environment. And macro is the most powerful thing because it's all one-time changes. So one very dangerous macro change in your life would be downloading TikTok. If you download TikTok, you introduce that to your environment, you're gonna watch TikTok. Same thing with when you're going grocery shopping. If you buy junk food and bring junk food home, well then you're gonna eat the junk food. That's basically, the macro basically affects your micro habits. Your macro is also identity. But in order to build your identity, you have to do it through the micro habits. And this is where we get into the gap. And the gap is that couple week long period or maybe month long period where you are adjusting to the new life of building your new identity. For example, let's say you want to become a bodybuilder, but you've never lifted weights before. So it's gonna take a few weeks to be able to build up enough gym sessions to build it in your identity. And once it's in your identity, it becomes automatic. That's what discipline is all about. It takes a lot less discipline for a bodybuilder to go to the gym than an overweight person because the bodybuilder already has the identity. In other words, the bodybuilder already crossed the gap. So your focus should just be on crossing the gap. Quick side note, congratulations Kiera for being the first winner of the competition. Your name will forever be cemented into this channel's history. And the way you cross the gap is by focusing on building good micro habits. So one habit is going to sleep on time. That is one of the greatest habits to build if you want to increase your discipline. I'd say that going to bed on time 10x's your discipline. I am not kidding because I always go to bed at the same exact time and I wake up at the same exact time. But then recently, I had to stay up late because we were driving home from a vacation. And the day after that, I started going back to my normal routine. And my discipline was so weak. That was the first time in months where I actually failed to get out of bed right when I woke up. So if you build good habits, that actually increases your discipline. Another example is eating properly. If you eat healthy, well then you don't feel sluggish. So then you're actually a lot more active and a lot more likely to do things. And we talked about the macro level also, which are one-time changes like environmental changes. For example, if you don't want to be addicted to video games, instead of trying to use your discipline every single time to not log on to the game, just sell your games. It takes a lot less discipline to sell the video game once, and then you don't have to use discipline ever again, assuming you have a replacement like reading books.
By the way, if you're trying to cross the gap really quickly, which I'm assuming you are since you're watching this video, you want to get a lot of discipline. These one-time changes like deleting your social media accounts, selling your video games, these one-time changes are cheat codes to crossing the gap.
And this is how all of this connects to that story of the two princes, the two brothers that had to build a pyramid. The brother that chose to ignore leverage, the person who spent his entire life trying to build a pyramid with his brute force, that's equivalent to buying junk food and bringing it home. Because let's say you're trying to eat healthy and you bring junk food home, then you lose all the leverage. It immediately destroys your leverage. Another example is deleting your TikTok account or deleting your social media account. That's building the machine. That's the equivalent of the prince building the machine. Using discipline early on to build the machine, which is deleting your social media account, and then you reap the benefits forever. You never have to use discipline again on social media. If you experienced my environment, then you would automatically have a lot of discipline. Or at least that's what a lot of people say is discipline, because they just look at the results. Like that prince, he built the pyramid, but it didn't take that much discipline to build the pyramid using that machine. Yet he got all of the reward. That's what people say, he had all the discipline. When in reality, the other person had a lot more discipline. It takes a lot more discipline to suffer through your day when you're sluggish because you ate junk food, when you're sleep deprived because you stayed up late. Trust me, I know. I used to live like this every day. It is so much more difficult to live when you're in that negative side of the spectrum. When you get to that positive side, when you cross the gap over to that positive side of the spectrum, life becomes easy.